How's it going? What is up, everybody? Moses here, beginning another Path of Exile video guide, and this time, Eternity Shroud. We're playing Soul Self-Found Legion, finished 40-40, managed to get everything that we wanted, and we now have time for one last build before the league ends. So I picked up an Uber Elder kill. We had to do 40 of them. With the end game grinds, so one of them dropped me an Eternity Shroud. Luckily, with like 40 fusing left, I managed to 6-link it. And we got a really cool break there, and we're able to play this build. Now the way that it works is the mechanics. Two important lines here. One, gain elemental damages, extra chaos damage per shaper item equipped. So we're stacking shaper items on each and every single one of our item slots. And then the second one, if you have all items equipped, our shaper items, hits ignore monsters' chaos resistances, and that of course includes bosses. So monster chaos resist is going to be 0, which is awesome. So for that purpose, we're using Freeze Pulse. Freeze Pulse is a pure cold spell, and another thing that happens in the background that they don't tell you is that if you convert your cold to a different element using cold to fire, for example, or pyre, or if it's a lightning spell, you convert that lightning into cold, then you get an additional 50% as extra of that element as extra if you have 10 items equipped as extra chaos damage. So every time you convert, it's considered to be a new element, out of which you're getting percent elemental as extra chaos damage. So I'm an ethical self-found player, currently just using the cold to fire gem, so just one layer of conversion, but we could do all sorts of other things. For example, disregard the all conversion, all that kind of stuff, all the shapers items equipped, and then use Call of the Brotherhood and Pyre, and then use physical to lightning on a physical spell such as Glacial Cascade, right? Glacial Cascade will have 60% cold, and then we get 50 converted to lightning with physical to lightning, so we get 40% lightning, 60% cold, and then we can use Call the Brotherhood to convert some of that lightning damage back to cold, and then Pyre will get that original cold converted to fire, right? And you still got a whole bunch of cold damage, so using cold to fire to get converted back to fire, that cold converted, so you kind of getting layers and layers and layers of damage conversion. Each layer of conversion gives us elemental as extra chaos. So as you can see, it's got some serious potential for double, triple, quadruple dipping, and that's usually what people do. I don't mess around with all that kind of stuff, and I believe the build is going to be strong enough, and as I played it, it is. So that's like the mechanic of the skill. When it comes to the links, we're using Freeze Pulse, Call to Fire for the conversion, Energy Leech, Spell Echo, Increased Critical Strikes, and Hypothermia. This is an Eldritch Battery and Mind Over Matter build, and I'm using Hierophant. So Eldritch Battery makes it so that instead of using mana to cast our spells, we then use Energy Shield. Excuse me. And then Mind Over Matter makes it so that we take damage from our mana before our life. So the combination of the two makes it so that we take damage from our energy shield. So 30% of our damage taken comes from energy shield, and then the rest comes off of our life. And then we use mana to cast our spells, right? So for this, we're using the Hierophant. Hierophant is an excellent ascendancy, very underused, very underrated in my opinion. Basically, this branch giving us 60% total spell damage and permanent Arcane Surge. Arcane Surge is more spell damage and 10% increased cast speed. We cannot normally, by conventional means, usually we will link Arcane Surge into you know, your movement skill, flame dash. But in this case, since we're not using mana for our flame dash, we're actually using, you know, energy shield, then we cannot in fact proc arcane surge off of this kind of setup. So we need something different. So it's either a Watcher's Eye or using something like Arcane Blessing, which gives us permanent arcane surge since we're constantly hitting enemies with our spells, with our freeze balls. And then over here we're getting spell damage leeched as life, and then we're also getting area of effect, so this will be very good for any kind of area effect. It's an excellent ascendancy and immunity to ailments even while we have arcane surge. So elemental ailments, freeze, shock, ignite, completely and permanently immune while we have arcane surge, which is all the time. And it's an incredible quality of life. And the second branch over here giving us mana and damage taken from mana before life, which basically means enhancing our you know, mind over matter. And then over here, so 40% of, you know, our damage is taken from mana before life, which means from energy shield before life. And then Sanctuary of Thought reduces mana cost of skills, reduce mana cost on skill while full energy shield, whatever, but gain maximum mana as extra energy shield. Right? So this gives us even more survivability, and the punchline here is the 10% less mana reservation of skills, which allows us to do something incredible that I never really got to do up until now, which is reserve 2 huge auras, right? The 50% auras of Hatred and Zealotry. Both are normally 50%. Now you see it says 40% mana reservation instead of 50%, because I link them also with an Enlightened gem, which gives a negative, you know, mana multiplier. So instead of you know, 50% with Enlightened level 4, we get to have 40% mana reserved, which is incredible because we get to use both of them, and we get to use Herald of Ice or alternatively Arctic Armor if we want to be a bit more defensive. So this sets up perfectly over here, and we even use a little bit of precision with reserved with blood magic. So we reserve 39 life towards precision, because it gives us a global critical strike chance, and it does not only apply to attacks like originally I thought. So this is all possible thanks to this Sanctuary of Thought, which is an insane boost to our damage. Every spellcaster I've ever played pretty much only had a single big aura, and this actually allows us to have 2 without investing anything, you know, too crazy like mana reservation node that we do have in our tree. Like this one is only 2 nodes away, but it's only 4%. This is normally what we would go for, right? 6, 4, and 4. These are the heavy mana reservation nodes for spellcasters that we usually take. But even those, you know, 8% and 4%. So this is, any of these clusters, the big clusters, would suit us just fine. But this is a big investment of points, and you know, 2 will just not be enough. And perfectly 0 mana reserved over here, right? So pretty good stuff. And of course, on top of that, the reason why I insisted to try and, you know, shove all of these with the you know, Herald or Arctic Armor is because I found this insane Watcher's Eyes that gives me cast speed and increased cold damage while affected by Zealotry and Hatred. So this is basically how the character works. Outside of that, it's Freeze Pulse. So first snow for 2 additional projectile, and increase, you know, Freeze Pulse damage if you shattered an enemy recently. So 50% increase if you shattered recently, which happens all the time. So 4 additional projectiles. And all that kind of stuff happening from these 2 jewels right here. And outside of that, we're using basically, you know, the Templar good stuff from life and spell stuff related, you know, elemental and spell related nodes. Of course, Mind of Matter, quick recovery, and all the life it entails. Heart and Soul, the Witch's life roll over here, Annihilation for crit. I did pick up Arcane Will because it gives us 4% of maximum mana as extra energy shield. We do have a whole bunch of mana, right? 1700. So this allows us to really kind of like get a big chunk of mana as extra energy shield, which really helps us survivability overall. We pick that up, and then Eldritch Battery, all the crit, Fire and Cold, and Snow Forged. With crit and fire and cold, which scales both of our, converted damage as well. Melding, which is a hybrid energy shield life cluster over here, which helps both of our life and energy shield. All the leech stuff, because I feel like we really kind of need the extra recovery per second from energy leech. So I decided to invest 5 points. It is a big investment. We do get some spell damage here. Sorry, some cast speed over here, but it's mostly just for the recovery. And the crit, spell crit, all the hybrid nodes of life and energy shield over here as well. And yeah, all the crit from shadow, the life and cast speed from shadow, the projectile speed and increased damage nodes, a little jewel socket with some spell damage while dual wielding, cold skill cast speed, and some crit multi that I managed to have, pretty sweet for this build. And all the life going down, not picking up acrobatics because it hurts severely. Our 30% less energy shield is just too big of a penalty to pay for a build like this, I feel. So I decided not to go for it. And then crit and Heartseeker, the watches that we've shown, and herbalism. For future points, we got I'm currently level 90, so cast speed, crit over here. This nimbleness is really a nice cluster, and outside of that, I don't know, some elemental damage, maybe some mana for Deep Thoughts to get some extra energy shield off of that, maybe some energy shield nodes. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe we get into these two nodes in the next couple of nodes, 18% and 6%. That's 24%. That's a lot of energy shield. Perhaps we just do that. So yeah, this is it. For the links, I don't remember if I went through, so yeah, let's go through this quickly. Cold to Fire, Freeze Pulse, Energy Leech, and Spell Echo, increased critical strikes, and Hypothermia. For the gloves, we're using a utility Orb of Storms. I love this spell for utility. It is also linked with Blind and Fasted Casting because I managed to get this on the Shaper gloves. Orb of Storms with Power Charge on crit, Ice Bite to generate our Frenzy charges, Onslaught that generate permanent onslaught for mapping and for bossing as well. Other links, we have Val Righteous Fire with increased duration. If you manage to get an open suffix on the boots, you have this incredible roll that allows you to get increased damage during soul gain prevention. Only if you have an open suffix on your boots you can craft that. This is really valuable. Try and get that, and I'm going to try and get that. We're going to try and craft ourselves better boots. I got the chaos resists instead of life, fire, movement speed, and then craft. I got fire, chaos, movement speed, and then I crafted life. So not ideal, but that's what we have in Self-Found at the moment. For the belt, it's just life and increased damage, some fire res. It's a Shaper belt, right? Ideally, you want something like Pristine Prismatic to get elemental damage, to get, good life rolls and elemental damage, essentially, with an open prefix for the increased damage, hopefully. Outside of that, the rings, we got +1 to endurance charges. I managed to craft here. It seems pretty decent. I got one on the amulet and one on the ring. So we get 8% damage reduction, fist damage reduction. So it's a pretty nice little defensive little thing that I was able to get here. I thought it's worth my while. A crit Shaper's ring with just life resists. Nothing too crazy. Helmet. Shaper's helmet here. With just life resists, and over here originally I was using Glacial Cascade, so we have that physical as extra chaos, is extra cold, and then that cold will be converted to chaos, but this line is actually null completely for this amulet, unfortunately, because I swapped to a different spell. So physical is extra, does not help us whatsoever, and elemental is extra. You can only get off of elder amulets, elder items, roll those, so we cannot get that because then we break our Shaper set, right? Outside of that, crit multi, area of effect, multi-modded with +1 minimum endurance charge and some life. This is currently my amulet. Maybe we'll improve it and try and find something better, but this is what we have for now. And the wands just multi-modded with elementals extra, profane wands with crit for spells, and this one here is another profane one with tier 2 crit multi, tier 2 elementals extra cast. Now the thing about those is that it's actually pretty incredible that I even found Shaper's profane wands, but if you're crafting your own, this is a tier 2 elementals extra chaos, and if you're going to be spending your exalts, it is better that you did it on wands that are eye level 86, I believe. Check POEDB, either eye level 86 or eye level 85. This will allow you a tier 1 roll. Unlike tier 2, tier 1 rolls 16 to 20%, which is substantially more if you multiply it by 2. Since you're dual wielding, it is actually pretty significant. So try and get something like that if you can. Outside of that, just craft whatever. This is a pure cold build, right? So we get cold as extra chaos. Cast speed, obviously, and then here I got the crit for spells, here I got the crit multi, and then spell damage mono regen, because I kind of ran out of exalts. But what you actually want to do is to run the spell damage and non-chaos as extra chaos, but it is one exalt. So instead of the spell damage mono regen, I crafted this, for 6 chaos. I ran out of exalts, so it is more spell damage, but you're not getting the 4 elemental as extra chaos. So it's suboptimal, but for me I felt it was just fine. Other links, I believe we went through everything. Blood magic and precision, reserved as life, and it's a global 40% increased critical strike chance, and just a single flame dash. Hatred, Enlighten, Herald of Ice, Zealotry. Over here we went through, and then the helmet, we have a cast on damage taken setup with Frost Bomb, Immortal Call, and Enfeeble level 7. This is totally up to you. Frost Bomb is not really doing too much. I had it for leveling because I was using pure cold before I had the Shourd, and I kind of like kept it, but you could do anything that you want here. Frost Bomb does not really apply because the negative 25 cold res only applies to, like, I don't know, 20% of my total damage. So essentially it's not all that much. It is something, and I didn't really have anything else to put here, so I was like, whatever. And then Immortal Call with Enfeeble, because Immortal Call, good damage reduction, and Enfeeble is nice to reduce monsters' damage across the board. You can alternatively use any other curse. I wouldn't use Elemental Weakness, but perhaps Assassin's Mark over here to to make enemies take more damage from crits. Probably would do a whole lot more damage for you guys. Flasks, since we are immune to elements because of the ascendancy, it's incredible. We're able to use an adrenaline. Normally I would use heat, right, to remove freeze, but we cannot be frozen, ignited, or shocked. So we got a warding flask to remove curses, and then staunching for bleeding, and serious promise, and Rumi's concoction for a little bit of extra block, because there was really nothing that I really kind of like wanted. Yeah. This is it. There is a Shaper's Stronghold in Terrace map, so let's go and do it. And there's also a Pantheon power over there, so let's go kill that guy with the Pantheon. Terrace 13. This is it. Alkin go. This is kind of super rippy. Probably shouldn't risk it. Yeah, extra damage as lightning is fine, but extra lightning, extra cold, and crit multi, like, why do it to yourself? Especially with Legion. Oh, where's the map? Especially with Legion. Too scary. So yeah, when it comes to maps, what we should do, what we should not, super rippy maps like this, no reason to do. Less regen, no regen, don't do. And reduce flash charges, you could do, but it's a bit annoying. And reflect, don't come near reflect, because you'll get yourself one-shotted. We're doing a whole lot of... oh, Brandis, yeah. Got all sorts of... by the way, this here, valuable currency shards. If we get 2 exalted shards, I complete another exalt. Feels good, man. Feels good. Now that I looked at it, I really kind of feel sorry for this amulet. It was so good for Glacial Cascade. Oh, Ancient Shard rip. It was so good for Glacial Cascade. The cast speed is pretty stupid. It was really nice for GC, but for Freeze Pulse, it's actually the physical as extra chaos is actually doing nothing. So I don't know. I could just get away with like a regular crit multi, big life. You know, I probably have something way better. Like for example, my Divine Ire character most likely has an amulet that is way better. This is me blowing up some what is Legion, right? So we're basically one-shotting, you know, for clear. It really kind of requires a bit more precision in your playstyle because, well, it's not quite like you know, the build I was playing before. You kind of like one-shot everything with just one click of the Val Ground Slam, if you guys remember. So it's not like this. It requires a bit more accuracy in your playstyle. So you gotta know what you're aiming for, you know, and you gotta position yourself correctly. This build does require more work, so it's definitely not for everybody. But I'm definitely having fun, you know, playing something a bit different than what we've been grinding with in the past couple of weeks with, you know, Val Ground Slap. So yeah, this is us. This is us. So yeah, it's a super kind of like fast pace. Nothing like the you know, broken headhunter type farming. You know, we are still ethical, but for me, like the projectiles, kind of like they go everywhere. We don't really care about what they're called, porcupines, because they freeze, shatter, and if we shatter enemies we get increased damage. So yeah, always dropping the Orb of Storms to get the power charges, to get the onslaught. Pretty much see, this is the onslaught, it's permanently up. Frenzies and power charges are permanently up. So we're dropping the Orb of Storms and right clicking to destroy our enemies. Also, there is a little thing that some people still don't know about. It was introduced to the game ages ago, but some people still don't know about it. So if you click on your skill, left click on it, it will open this window, and then always attack without moving. Okay, just make sure that this is checked. Okay, basically what it does is make sure that you're not attacking without moving. So that you're not moving when you're attacking, so your character doesn't have to, like sometimes you need to walk. You know, your character walks and then attacks. If your mouse cursor, for example, is too far, like if you right click here, it doesn't matter. But if you right click here, you know, your character sometimes will need to walk on certain skills. So, anyways, whatever. Oh, okay. So, tread no further. Villain, killing this good dude. He is, yeah. He is like shaped, and he is also with the, what's it called, Divine Vessel. It's whatever. A little bit of yeah, you really kind of want to stay away from these you know, round kind of like cold damage over time balls, because they will degen your energy shield and then you cannot cast your spells. But make sure you drop an Orb of Storm, it gets you Leech, and then you always kind of have energy shield to cast your spells. This is it. This was it. This is the build. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching. In the next few days until Legion starts out, I'm going to be farming. Hopefully I make it to 96, 97. I only started playing this character, this build, at level 90. So we didn't do too much, like almost half a level. That's basically it. I killed one tier 13 Elder. It was incredible. And hopefully we have an Uber Elder to do for showcase for you in the next few days. Thank you very much for watching, and I guess I'll see you guys on stream. If I don't see you, then Blight Hype, new league incoming. Hope to see you guys then. Thank you, and bye bye for now.